Okay, so as always, if you'll write the correct answer in red, put a red X on the number that's wrong, and I'll try to go slow enough for you guys. Okay, so number 1, it says solve and graph the solution. So there are 2 parts. The numerical solution is x less than -3 or x greater than 3. That's the solution mathematically on a number line. All I really care about is that they show the -3 should be a circle over the -3, arrow to the left, and should be a circle over the 3, arrow to the right. And I'll give you guys time. I know you have multiple papers. Amani?
Okay if they have the other way around.
What do you mean by the other way around? X greater than -3 or x less than?
Again, x greater, x less than 3.
No, that's incorrect. The symbols have to go that way, and that is the way it's got to go. Otherwise, it would look completely different, be a completely different answer. Everybody good on that one? Again, I'll come back and get your questions later. All right, number 4, 2 solutions again, mathematically, looks similar. X greater than or equal to -7 or x greater than or equal to 7. X less than or equal to -7 or x greater than or equal to 7. So it's going to look the same way, only this time it's a dot because of the equal to part. Dot over the -7, arrow to the left. Dot over the 7, arrow to the right. Yes, it's got to be, the solutions go on the number line. They have to have the word or. They have to have the word or. Because they have to designate the difference between a conjunction and disjunction, and the word or is really the final solution to the problem. Okay, number 7. Number 7, the numerical answer is -7 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 13. -7 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 13. This one was a conjunction. So the answer on their number line is a dot on the -7 and a line all the way to the 13 with a dot on the 13. Okay, this means any value -7 all the way up until 13. This one was a conjunction, and that's the intersection. Conjunction, and that's the intersection. Okay, number 2 then. The numeric answer is -10 less than x less than 10. Again, this was a conjunction. So they should have a dot on the -10. I'm sorry, circle on the -10. The -10 is not included. Line all the way to the 10 with a circle on the 10. So values just bigger than -10 up to values just before +10. -10 less than x less than 10. -10 less than x less than 10. Those are the last ones where you graph, at least where you have to graph the answer. Does everybody have those? We good? Everybody okay? I think I gave Arlette all the ones with the wrong answers. Okay, let's keep going here. Stop spinning. Okay, so again, the rest of these are numeric solutions. Number 9, x less than or equal to -10, need the word or. X greater than or equal to 4. X less than -10 or x greater than or equal to 4. Rachel? Does he have the word or? Does he have the word or? It's wrong. That's the answer. Sounds like he treated it as a conjunction. This is the answer. The only possibility, Rachel, is if they put the x greater than 4 on the front on the left, and the x less than or equal to negative 10. That's a correct answer, but not the best final form. But you got to use the word or. Okay, number 16. X less than negative 3 or x greater than negative 1. X less than negative 3. Okay, 17. 17 is negative 8/3 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4/3. Negative 8/3 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4/3. Okay, what's next? Number 12. All right, 12 should be 9/2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 33/2. 9/2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 33/2. Okay, 18. Negative 9/2 less than or equal to x less than 15/2. Negative 9/2 less than or equal to x less than 15/2. Okay, last one, 34, is a review question. And it is x equals 3/2 a plus 9. X equals 3/2 a plus 9. I'll give you one other version. X equals 3a plus 18 over 2. I will take it either way. 3a plus 18 over 2. If they don't have it, just give them the first version. All right, questions. Let's do 1, 4, 7, and 2 first. Anything I can explain to you for numbers 1, 4, 7, or 2? Anybody? Jeffrey.
Like I heard you put, I had the right answers. I just swapped them.
For which ones?
1 and 4.
So you need to do a red arrow underneath and do that methodology, okay? You can circle the numbers in red, and I'll see that when I go through. Again, I did teach you that you put the lower one first and the bigger one. You have a correct answer, you just don't have the best form, okay? If that were a quiz or test, it'd be a minor deduction, but it would be a little deduction. What else? 1, 4, 7, 2 that I can help you to understand. Beilul? 7. Okay. So you're going to look at 7, and you're going to see the absolute value of x minus 3 less than or equal to 10. First thing you want to do, Beilul, is notice that the absolute value is isolated. It's by itself on the left side. And therefore, the symbol going that way is a conjunction. Now, you have to think this, because the conjunction tells you the solution is the intersection of the two functions. So hopefully you remember the first time you remove the absolute value symbol and just solve it. Okay, we'll add a 3 to both sides, and we get x less than or equal to 13. That is one of the solutions. Remember, the second method to get the other side is, if it's isolated, you have to reverse the symbol, and you have to put a negative in front of the value on the right. Now, again, I'm going to add a 3 to both sides. And now I get x greater than or equal to negative 7. Now, if you don't know how to interpret the solution, Beilul, you'll need to graph it. So I've got a dot over the 13, arrow to the left, a dot over the negative 7, arrow to the right. Where do you see both? Right here. How do you say that? You write the smallest value first, you flip its symbol, because now the x is coming after it. You write the largest exactly as it is. negative 7 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 13. Again, that means all these values from negative 7 up to 13. That's the way your conjunctions go on those. Anything else, 1, 4, 7, or 2? Of course, 2 is the exact same problem. That's why I gave you an odd and then the even that goes with it. Any other questions, 1, 4, 7, or 2? Okay. 9 through 18. Well, 9, 16, 17, 12, or 18. Anything on those? Seth? Okay, so going through the same logic, Seth. First off, I'm going to check to see if my absolute value is isolated, and it is. Now I'm ready to read my sign. Greater thans and greater than or equals to are disjunctions. And disjunctions, the solution is union. So I've got to understand that. I now do my two solutions, remove the absolute value, and solve. So I'm going to isolate the variable. Is that an 8? Yeah, it's 8. And can divide both sides by 2. And I end up with x greater than or equal to 4. There's one part of the solution. Second, remove the absolute value, flip or reverse the symbol, and put a negative in front. This is because with absolute values, negatives, the absolute value of a negative number gives you the positive. Okay, finish solving. Negative 6 again to both sides. 2x less than or equal to negative 20. Again, I'm going to divide by 2, and I get x less than or equal to negative 10. If I were to graph this, this is what it would look like. Dot over the negative 10, arrow to the left, dot over the 4, arrow to the right. How do you say all of those values negative 10 and lower, and also all the values 4 and bigger? Take your smallest one, write it first, use the word or, take your largest, and write it second. And that's the solution. That's the way your disjunctions will go. All right, you can take one more question. Anything else on these? Curly? Okay. So on 16, negative 4x minus 8 greater than 4. Okay, it is isolated, right, Curly? So we can look at this and say disjunction. Again, union. Remove the absolute value and solve. Add a positive 8 to both sides. Now be careful right here, Curly. Because I'm going to divide by a negative 4, I've got to flip my symbol, right? So I get x less than negative 3. That's one solution. Second way, remove the absolute value, flip the symbol, put a negative in front of the value on the right. Again, move the negative 8 by adding its opposite. It's a 4. Again, I'm multiplying both sides by 1 over negative 4, doing the shortcut dividing, so I got to flip my symbol. And I get negative 1. Now, when you look at this answer on a number line, here you are at negative 3, here you are at negative 1, circle left, circle right. So again, values negative 3 and lower, values negative 1 and higher. I already have the bigger one to the right. If I put the word or between them, that's my solution of the disjunction. Okay, pass those up. All right, so again, 1A, 1B, number 2, and stop. All right, those of you watching, if you're reviewing by watching, you might want to pause it. Okay, so 1A, Jeffrey, what do you think? Switch, reverse, flip. Okay, this is really key, right? You guys can't forget that tomorrow. When multiplying or dividing by a negative quantity, it's an inequality. Don't forget to flip or reverse that symbol. Really, really important. All right, 1B, Beilul? Nope, not quite. Dave? Ethan? Intersection. intersection. It's really important that you associate a conjunction, the word and, with intersection, because that's how you solve things. That's how you know what to do, by knowing the intersection. Okay, so when you look at number 2, if you graphed it, you would graph circle over the -4, arrow to the right, circle over the 5, arrow to the left, and you would say, hey, this is a conjunction. I need the intersection. Where do they intersect? Right in here. Circle over the -4, line to the 5. Okay, how many got that correct? Okay, conjunction. Any questions on that? Okay, go ahead and do number 3. Go ahead and do number 3. Okay, so again, as you go to graph this one, hopefully you look at it and say, all right, dot over the -2, arrow to the left, circle over the 0, arrow to the right. This is a disjunction. So this is union. If it were a conjunction, it'd be the null set, but this is all the values from -2 down and all the values just bigger than 0 forward. How many got that one right? Okay, good. Questions on that, anybody? Any questions? Questions? Okay, try the next one. Try the next one. So again, you're looking at this less than 7, circle over the 7, arrow to the left. Less than -1, less than or equal to -1, dot over the -1, arrow to the left. Again, you say conjunction, I need the intersection. Where do they intersect? You see black and blue from there down. So dot over the -1, arrow to the left. How many got that one correct? Okay, so take note if that gave you trouble. Remember, the intersection, you need both of the functions there. Where do you have both black and blue? From -1 down. X less than or equal to -1. Okay? All right, try the next one. Be careful there. You've got this 5 less than -n to deal with, right? So I'll give you a heads up on that. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit for time's sake here so we can get to some other things. Okay, when you deal with this, first off, when I flip sides, whoops, I'm saying it and I didn't do it. When I flip sides, remember, you have to reverse the inequality symbol on inequalities. The other thing is, I'm really multiplying both sides by a -1, and I have to flip the inequality symbol. So it ends up back there. Be careful on that. It's a double flip. Flipping sides causes you to flip it. Taking care of the negative variable causes you to flip it. So on this one, circle over the 1, arrow to the right, and you've got a circle over the -5, arrow to the left. Disjunction is the union. Union, circle over the -5 and down, circle over the 1 and up. Remember, union where either one is. All values that belong to either one. How many got that one right? Okay. Couple pitfalls on that, but now you're aware of it, right? Now you're ready for it. If you see that again, you're ready and you'll take care of it the next time. Okay, last one of this kind. You have to deal with negation on this one, right? So deal with the negation before you go to graph it, before you figure out the solution. Deal with the negation before you graph it, before you go to the solution. Okay, again, for time's sake, this negation, did you do greater than or equal to -2? Remember, you flip the symbol, and if it's an equal to, it's not anymore, and if it's not, it is, right? So on this one, we've got a dot over the 2, arrow to the right, and we've also got a circle, a dot over the negative 2, arrow to the right. Now again, it's all the values of either one. This is a disjunction, right? This is union, disjunction, dot over the negative 2, arrow to the right. Any values that belong to either one. Either one. All the blue, also all the black. And really, all the blue is contained, all the black is contained in all blue. How many got that one right? Okay, so again, a couple things to be careful of, the negation and then reading the disjunction. Okay, for time's sake, this next one, I'm going to give you what the equations equal. So if you go to solve this first one's going to end up being x greater than 5, right? Test tomorrow, you'll solve it. The second one, because you multiply by a negative, ends up x less than or equal to negative 4. X less than or equal to negative 4. Okay, figure out now the solution that goes in the blank. Figure out the solution that goes in the blank. Got to know what kind is it, conjunction or disjunction. What's the solution to the conjunction or disjunction? How do you read the solution for this problem? That's what the graph would look like, right? Jeffrey, what'd you put for an answer? That would be if it was a disjunction. This is a conjunction, and the solution is the intersection. Anybody put the null set? Okay, it's the null set. They have nothing in common. Nowhere are both together. So again, you have to understand, what kind of problem do I have? You got to say this is a conjunction. Therefore, I'm looking for the intersection. Okay, for time's sake here, again, this one would end up with n less than 4, or, and look, when you switch sides, right, don't you flip the symbol, n less than or equal to negative 4. What would be the solution to that one? N less than 4, or n less than or equal to negative 4. How would you write your solution? And again, I'm going kind of fast here for time's sake so we can get to some other problems. Again, you got to look at that and say there's a disjunction. This is the union. When I put them together, I get all values less than 4. All right? It's where either one is. From here down, right? When you put them together. How many got that one right? Okay. So again, you got to recognize the things that are giving you trouble and work on them to shore them up. Okay, let's do the back. Come on. Okay, number 9. This is not an inequality, it's just an equation. For time's sake, let me just remind you how to solve it. Isolate the absolute value. I need to move this 2 first. You might be better off just watching instead of writing, because I'm probably going to go too fast for you guys to write, and you'll be better off looking. So now remember, you got to do your 2 solutions. The first time, just remove it. The second time, remove it and put the negative in front of the number on the other side. Now solve each little equation. I'm going to add a positive 3 to both sides, and I'm going to divide the 12 by a 2 and get 6. I'm going to add a positive 3 to both sides. At that point, I get 2x equals what? Negative 6. Divide the negative 6 by 2, and I get negative 3. And those are the 2 solutions you'd put in the blank. This is an equation, right? It's an equation. So this would be x equals 6, x equal negative 3 in the blank. However, on number 10, you look at this and say, oh, wait a minute. I've got to isolate the variable. Again, you're probably better off watching. I got to isolate the absolute value. So right now, this is where I'm at. And what is that, 18? And how do I move this 3? Things multiplied are moved by multiplying by the reciprocal. Can do the shortcut. Now I'm at the absolute value of x minus 5 is greater than 6. What kind of a solution is it when it's greater than? Say it if you know it. Disjunction. If you don't know that, you're going to be in trouble. And again, that means the union. Now, we just reviewed these on the homework, so I'm not going to go any further on this one. But this would be a disjunction. If you were to finish it, it would look like x less than negative 1 or x greater than, if I can read my writing, 11. When you look at number 11, same thing, right? Isolate the absolute value. When things are both added to and multiplied, move things added first. We know that already. What is that, a negative 8? Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, and remember to do what? What do you do when you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative? Flip the symbol, right? Now I'm ready to split that into 2 and get the 2 solutions. What kind of a solution is this? This would be a disjunction again, right? Can't read the symbol until you isolate the absolute value. This thing ends up x hold on there, Bubba. All right, I'm going to leave that one because I got to look at that later. Yeah, x less than or equal to negative 5 or x greater than or equal to 3. Okay, but again, the only thing different on this review is that I'm reminding you to isolate the absolute value. Will you get a ton of those? No, but expect 1 or 2 where you got to isolate the absolute value first. You got to remember conjunction or disjunction to get that final answer. Notice the difference between 9 and then 10 and 11. 9's just an equation. 10 and 11 would be a conjunction or disjunction. Okay, bonus number 1. Write the absolute value equation if the solutions are. So let me show you this. You've got a negative 6 and a 14. Those are the solutions, right? Do you guys remember this? The absolute value of x minus h plus c. Do you remember that? Or is it d plus d? Anybody remember what the h was? That was the coordinate of the midpoint. What's the coordinate of the midpoint? How far apart are these? How far apart is a negative 6 and a 14? Say it if you know it. 20. Therefore, the midpoint is how many apart? 10. What's 10 to the left of a 14 or 10 to the right of a negative 6? What would be the value of that coordinate? It would be a 4, right? Go 10 from a negative 6, you get to 4. Go 10 left from a 14, you get to a 4. Where the h is, you put in the 4. Anybody remember what the value of d was? It's not the whole distance, it's the distance from the midpoint to either point, right? And d is 10, and that would be the equation of the absolute value. Now again, you got to understand x minus h, absolute value of x minus h plus d. All right, second bonus here. A sequence, find the sum of the first 251 terms. Anybody know the formula? Anybody know what S of 251 equals? Anybody remember? Anybody? It was n times the quantity a sub 1 plus a sub 251, all divided by 2. So you need to find a sub 1 and a sub 251. Do you remember how to find it from this explicit formula? A sub 1 would be the value when you put 1 in for the variable, right? So a negative 2 and a 4 is a 2. A sub 1 is 2. Right? And a sub 251 is when you put 251 in for the variable. And that thing ends up being negative 498. So remember, the 2 goes in for the a sub 1. The negative 498 goes in for a sub 251. What do you put in for n? Say it if you know it. 251, right, is the n. So you'd have to solve that little equation. You'd get the grand old value of negative 62,248. All right, be careful this chapter. Conjunctions and disjunctions. I hope you used some of your time off yesterday to get things settled like I asked you to. If you didn't, then you're going to have to make it up today. Take note of the things that you missed. Was the review quiz everything? Of course not. Couldn't ask you everything. There'll be some easier things than that on the test. Pretty much the things on there would be some of the harder things, but they'll be on there too, so be careful. All right, we're going to stop there. Say goodbye if you want to say goodbye.